Hi everyone and welcome back to Ignite&Scale. Today I'm thrilled to host a very special guest, Devin Daly, the CEO and founder of Impel, our first unicorn on the podcast. Devin founded Impel back in 2014 at a time when AI was still a distant dream for most. Since then, Impel has grown into a global platform powering 24 billion shopper interactions, generating over $6 billion in sales across more than 50 countries. It's an incredible journey from a bold idea to a $1 billion valuation, and we're going to dive into that today. Devin, delighted to have you on. Maybe we'll start with your personal story. You didn't begin your career in automotive or tech, but maybe if you share a bit of your background and what inspired you to take this leap into entrepreneurship and eventually launch Impel in 2014.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you very much for having me. So as you alluded to, my background was sort of traditional finance, Wall Street. I was in investment banking, did sort of a 2-year stint there, and then moved to a private equity firm where we were investing our firm's dollars in primarily e-commerce businesses. And what I saw was an opportunity. Many may not realize about Impel that when we started the business, we weren't focused on conversational AI, and we weren't actually even in the auto industry. When we first started, we were focused on providing 360 visualizations to fashion companies, folks like Louis Vuitton and Warby Parker and Converse. And the way that idea was spurned was birthed rather, is I had invested in a lot of kind of e-commerce enablement products when I was working in private equity, like a recommendation engine for e-commerce and a chat product for e-commerce. Yeah. And we realized these had such demonstrable ROIs. My co-founder and I started racking our brain for, what's the next thing in this sort of e-commerce evolution, and came up with this notion that 360 product visualization was a tried and true way to improve e-commerce conversion, but there wasn't really an out-of-the-box solution to create that content at scale. And so that's what we set out to do in 2014, got pulled into auto in 2015, and the rest is history. Here we are, the market leader of artificial intelligence for auto with around 9,000 customers across 55 countries.
I mean, it's really impressive. And I think impressive to have that vision back in 2014 and particularly automotive. I mean, let's face it, I've worked in different industries as well through financial services. You have. Automotive isn't the most straightforward. It's definitely not the easiest. So I'm interested to know, what gap did you see in the automotive market, and going into a bit more detail on how you envisage leveraging AI into what's quite a complex purchase, and how you sought and you've achieved to transform how dealers and manufacturers can engage. That's not easy, having that vision. How have you done that?
Yeah, I think two general thoughts there. One is, auto is an amazingly massive industry, with a massively convoluted purchase process and extremely low margin, right? And so, we believe, this is an industry that is ripe for disruption in that, the average dealer's net profit margin is 2 to 4%. They're very human capital intensive. And we believe AI can be the transforming agent to make them more automation and technology enabled and really increase that net profit margin, for a dealership. Secondly, I would say what we've noticed, as I alluded to a second ago, is the buying experience or the consumer journey is massively convoluted, right? If you think about the number of vendors that are engaging with the consumer, starting during their research phase through to when they submit a lead, the BDC, the CRM, then in that service journey, you have 30 or 40 different vendors that are communicating with that consumer. They don't speak to one another. The consumer's getting texts from different phone numbers, different email addresses. AI can come in and for the first time be that unifying layer to bring that all together in a much more cohesive and cogent fashion that not only lifts lifetime value and thus profitability for a dealer, but also really improves the consumer experience.
It's fabulous, and you make it sound easy, but it clearly isn't. And I guess you've scaled the company to unicorn status in excess of 50 countries, billions of dollars in transactions, clearly no small feat. But I'm interested in what were your biggest challenges on that journey? You've built a global team, you've managed growth. The UK is very different to the US. How have you kept ahead of that and kept the product ahead of the curve in lots of different markets? And I guess, what's the most what is the biggest success you're most proud of? Not everything's about valuation, but it's a clear yardstick of what you've achieved.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So yeah, for starters, right, I think it's really, really paramount that as you scale, you keep your pace and speed and hunger. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, founder of Amazon, famously said, we need to maintain a day one mentality that, today is day one, because when we start to think it's day two and we become complacent is the day that we become sclerotic and begin dying. And so really banging the drum on that, maintaining your agility, your innovation, your inventiveness, your communications, your ability to make decisions fast is really, really critical for us. Secondly, I would say, a heavy focus on people and raising the bar with the people you bring in. And a software company, by far the biggest asset that you have, right? It's a asset light, human intensive business is your people. And so how do you develop those people? How do you bring in world-class people? I mean, I think in terms of our biggest accomplishment, I think our amazing Tbilisi office in the Republic of Georgia, right? In May of 2021, that was our first ever acquisition. It was a corner of the world I never thought I would end up. They had around 15 employees at the time, and we're doing around $500,000 in revenue. Today, we've scaled that business that we bought to probably 75 million in revenue. But more importantly, we built an amazing artificial intelligence center of excellence there that's 120 people strong. Many of them have their PhDs in AI or linguistics. And it's just been an amazing asset and great to see, in this often overlooked corner of the world that, we built a world-class, world-renowned software team, and something I'm very proud of and like to think, we'll look back and have made an impact on, the trajectory of the Republic of Georgia.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, clearly it feels like you've invested in that growth all the time as well, which allows you to have that scalability to grow in all the countries. So feels like the acquisition in Georgia was really a transformational part of the Impel journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. It was our first acquisition and also our kind of pivot into artificial intelligence. But previously we were primarily doing digital merchandising and some data products, and that acquisition in the Republic of Georgia was our foray into the artificial intelligence realm.
And you must have had some hairy moments in the time as well. Scaling businesses as fast as you have is never easy. What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think communication, as you grow, you go from being, 30 people all in the same room where, everybody knows what you're doing and, they get the nuance behind the communication and understand the strategy to, you need communication processes to cascade out to, a team of now 600 people and, whatever, 20 different offices kind of thing. I think maintaining the culture, I think both maintaining agility and speed and, eagerness and urgency is critical, but also maintaining the culture. I consider that, a critical part of my role. As we scale, naturally, we will need to add, process and administration. And, as the CEO and founder, I think to myself, my role is being that culture carrier to understand where we add process, and do it in a way that's light touch so it doesn't kill what's made us great today.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And finally, looking ahead, what excites you over the next 5 to 10 years in automotive retail? What trends do you see, and how does Impel fit into that vision?
Yeah, great question, right? I mean, we firmly believe that, dealers will go from being massively human capital intensive to really AI enabled, wherein you have one AI brain or operating system that is managing that entire consumer journey from, chatting on the website to, communicating with a sales rep, an AI sales rep to, doing CSI surveying using AI, to selling F&I and accessory products post-purchase, to using AI to keep that person coming back into the dealership for service, to eventually understanding driving habits and DMS data to understand when they're likely to sell that vehicle back, reaching out to them for vehicle acquisition. And again, having this one cohesive AI brain managing that entire life cycle is something we are very, very excited about. And we believe, again, will not only boost profitability, but really enhance the consumer experience by having that one singular, always on 24/7 concierge.
So you see, automotive evolving as it always does, and Impel being at the heart of the AI revolution, where you're creating a win-win for dealers, consumers, OEMs alike. And is that the formula to maintaining your success in the future?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's definitely, we do firmly believe it's one of those unique win-win-win situations where we can really improve the consumer experience versus, what many of them experience today. And, the dealership, I think, values, the ability to become more profitable. And we think the manufacturers similarly understand that they spend a lot of money, on building this amazing brand experience. But a lot of times, unfortunately, the actual execution at the tier 3 dealer level is not always living up to that brand. It's not always brand compliant. And so, we believe AI can be, that unifying hub and that unique win-win-win business opportunity.
No, that's great. And just as a follow-up to that, I mean, clearly there's multiple points within a dealer. You've got new car sales, used car sales, after sales, parts, etc. In terms of UK profitability isn't easy at the moment. The economy isn't easy. Where's the biggest win factors for dealers at the moment utilizing your technology, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think fixed ops is amazing, right? A dealership sits on a gold mine in their DMS of 5,000 records with no way to really effectively mine that. If you think about the requisite touch points for a consumer to stay in front of them and reduce service defection and ensure service loyalty, there's probably 15 touch points per year between first service after they buy, pit stop, oil change, recall, preventative maintenance. 15 per consumer times 5,000 records, and each of those requires 4 or 5 follow-ups to engage. That is just an impossible amount of work to be done using human BDC staff. AI can automate all of that and prevent defection, prevent somebody from going to the independent repair shop down the street.
No, that's absolutely fascinating. And Devin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, and truly inspiring journey, and congratulations with what you've achieved. I mean, with any of our listeners, whether they're C-suite dealers, etc., what's the best way of getting hold of you at Impel, or if they want to know more about your services, what's the most effective way to do that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You can go to impel.ai and you can submit, a request for more information, or you can email info@impel.ai, and one of our reps will be sure to be in touch.
That's great. Well, really appreciate your time and some great insights into entrepreneurship, scaling, and the future of automation in automotive. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. No, thank you much for having me. Appreciate it.
If you want to listen to more episodes of the podcast, we're on all good audio platforms. Our website is also www.cambriaprivatecapital.com, and you can also find myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we publish our weekly blogs as well. Please do get in touch if you want more information.